How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. I am joined here by some talented cosplayers in a segment called My First Cosplay Contest. I'm joined here by Colleen, Titus, Consul Cosplay, and Kyra of Cosplay. This is Consul's and Titus's first Zoom appearance, and we'll also be joined soon by Minty. Um, so to begin, starting with Colleen, mind introducing yourself and when was your very first cosplay contest?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Colleen. So I'm a cosplay YouTuber. I run the Colleen Cosplay YouTube channel. I do a lot of cosplay tutorials, con vlogs, all that good stuff. And my first contest was in 2017. I think at RadCon, that would be my guess. I'm gonna go with 2017.
And what was your very first cosplay for that contest?
I was Riku from Final Fantasy X, and Final Fantasy costumes are not really good to start out with when you don't know how to sew. So imagine Riku, but garbage, low budget Riku. It was rather bad, but I still got on the stage anyways, because I mean, you gotta get on that stage to get some practice, right?
I mean, I agree. Next is Titus. When was your very first cosplay contest, and who did you cosplay as?
My first one was, I think it was back in like 2017. No, yeah, 2017 or 2016. I did it at KomoriCon, and I did Ami from Okami. And I did my full costume, which was really fun. And I did my dog's costume too.
Nice. What was your dog's costume?
He was the little bug that hopped around with Ami in the game.
I've never heard of that game before.
It's a good game. There's pictures on the KomoriCon thing. It was ridiculous.
I'll have to look. Next is Consul. When was your very first cosplay contest, and what was your very first cosplay for that?
Okay, so technically my first cosplay contest was my first cosplay in 2009, but I don't really count that one because it was KomoriCon, I think that year and that year only. I don't remember them ever doing it again. They had kind of a separate from the regular costume contest, they had like a little walk-on cosplay contest. Again, I don't remember them doing it ever again, but so me and my sister joined, and that was my very first cosplay. And so I just kind of did a little walk-on, walk-off thing. It was fun. But my official, like, I had to pre-register type of cosplay contest was, I want to say 2015. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it was King Armakin from Magi, however you say it. However, yeah,
I remember in your cosplay interview, you were telling me you cosplayed. He's the one with the white hair, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's got the white hair. Yeah.
Okay,
I think that was my first. It's a little iffy.
The theme seems to be like everyone's like had their first contest roughly around the same year almost. Kyra, what was your very first cosplay contest, and who was your very first cosplay for that contest?
My first cosplay contest was at a teeny little con called Con in 2018. And if you have listened to me on any of your other shows, you will know that my first contest piece was Aylaway.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was that same year that you actually won that cosplay contest as well.
I lost that one, but...
Oh, it was 2019?
Yeah, the next year I recompeted her at that same convention and won.
Nice. So I'll start with you, Kyra, and then move your way. So for those, and this is usually a question I ask later, for those who are considering on entering their first cosplay contest, what would you recommend for first time cosplay contestants?
Oh my god, there are like so many things I could recommend. Like, the question is, where do you even start? I mean, okay, I know it's like super basic advice, but it's honestly so important. Like, definitely pick a project that you are passionate about and you're going to stick with building it, because like I generally know what I'm doing with cosplay now, but even still, I am super slow with making stuff. If you have never done craftsmanship before, it's just going to drag. It's going to take forever. You're going to be 90% done with your costume and be like, wait, why do I still have 4 weeks of work left? So like, pick something you're passionate about, something you can sacrifice some late nights to. I get a lot of questions of, well, I see this judge prefers foam. Should I make a foam costume? No. Don't build to what you think the judges are going to want. Build to what you want, because at the end of the day, you're still the one who has to like live with your cosplay.
That is very true. And no, I hardly agree. I very agree. I remember when I interviewed Mama Samo, she was saying that you're not competing against the others, you're competing against yourself when it comes
That's
to a
exactly
cosplay contest. Same question for you, Consul. What advice would you want to give to first-time contestants who are considering on wanting to enter their very first cosplay contest, and what are some of the basic things they should know?
I do highly agree with the pick a passion project. I would say document everything. Even if you don't think it needs to be documented, document it. Like take pictures of everything. And one of my favorite things to do is I'll just set up my phone and like record myself like from a top down view, like as high as I can get my phone, like in the corner of the room. And then just record the whole process in a time lapse. And if I need to like take pictures of my progress for like a portfolio, I can just scroll through the video, screenshot it, and now I have proof that I made the costume, what exactly I was doing. Now I know what to bring to the judges, exactly how I made it, because I have a full video of how I did it. So just document everything however you however is best for you, because I know everyone learns differently, everyone does things differently, but just document everything as much as you can.
That's actually good. Plus, I imagine it helps, for first time nerves too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, top to bottom, just talk top to bottom. Then you'll never forget anything.
Same question for you, Colleen. Any advice for first time cosplay contestants who are wanting to consider entering their first contest? What would you recommend?
I would recommend to, kind of like they're saying, like make it a project you want to wear, and also don't go into it with a competitive mindset only. I see so many newbies enter contests and they are so competitive, and if things don't work out, there are tears. And like, look, this is your con, this is your vacation time, right? It's your nice little Saturday weekend. So if it's your first time competing, just have a good time, okay? Test it out, test the waters, see what it's like, okay? If you want to win prizes, that's fine. There's plenty of other cons. You can do that. But for your first one, I'd say chill. Do what you want. Have fun backstage. Talk to your friends. But don't enter the contest with this mindset that if you don't win first place, you're worthless, because that really depends on what everyone else is bringing to the table. And you're pretty much always going to be upset if you have that mindset.
No, that's some pretty sound advice. It kind of reminds me of an episode of Dragon Ball where Master Roshi basically was saying how, the reason why he wanted Krillin and Goku to lose is so they can keep on working up and up and up, and not, if they just win that one, then that's the mindset they have. It's like they're gonna expect to win every other event. And I imagine you've probably seen, I'm sure anyone here has probably seen that, where a cosplayer wins one time and the next thing you know that they expect to win the next one. I'm not sure, has anyone ever seen that before?
Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy. Same question for you, Titus. For first-time cosplay contestants, what advice would you want to give to them? Whether they're, a baby cosplayer just getting into cosplay in general, or they've cosplayed so long that they actually want to see what it's like from a different perspective.
So you guys pretty much covered everything that I would say, because I remember when my sister first entered and she was expecting to win. And if you go in expecting to win, then you are going to end up with the tears and being upset. Like the first time I ever competed, I did it for fun. So if you do it for fun and you keep having that mindset that this is for fun, yeah, my costume isn't the greatest out there. There's going to be people better than me, but there's room for improvement. So always always want to say, remember that even though you lost something and you didn't win at that moment because, all these other, how do you want to put it? I don't want to say flaws, but like you did something that you didn't like about your costume, or there's something that you felt like after you competed, I could have done this better. Sorry, I have dogs all over the place.
Yeah, I can see Frey in the background.
Yes. It's like 45 pounds of dog right now. But yeah, go in with a positive mindset and learn from it. Like once you go and you compete, and even though if you felt like you didn't do a good enough job or anything like that, always remember there's so much room to improve. And as you improve with your skills, you'll get up to that point where you might end up winning a competition, or you might end up being second or third place, those kind of things. And just be proud that you even walked on stage. I always say that. Be proud of yourself that you got up there in front of thousands of people and got up on that stage. And if you keep that positive attitude and know that you're proud of yourself for entering, then you're going to go up there. You're going to be one of those people eventually one day and win something. There's too many dogs. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Back to you, Colleen. What was it like when you entered your very first cosplay contest?
I feel like we were mostly just kind of like having fun. We entered at RadCon where you have to do a skit, like not even optional. You have to do a skit. So I did this silly little skit with my sister as Yuna and me as Riku. Honestly, it was with a lot of smaller cons. I entered the contest just to like pass the time, and it was kind of that. You can kind of see the dealer's hall in an hour or two. It's like, I'm in my cute little outfit. Like, what should I do with the con? And so we entered the contest. I do that a lot at small cons. It doesn't have to be anything so serious as trying to win every time.
Before I go into this, what made you want to go decide? What made you want to go as Riku from Final Fantasy X for your very first contest?
So I am a sucker for group cosplays. I love group cosplays, and my sister wanted to be Yuta. So I was like, okay, I'll be Riku because I love Riku. And we had this kind of grand scheme where we had like a full Final Fantasy group in our head. But obviously Final Fantasy cosplays are very difficult to pull off. And at that time, it could not be pulled off. I did end up making an Orin cosplay for my dad later, so that's
really well done cosplay, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So maybe that dream will come back, but it was mostly just so we could kind of do stuff together.
Nice. Same question, Consul. What was it like entering your very first cosplay contest?
Well, I feel like the most difficult part about that question is each cosplay contest varies so drastically in how it's judged and how the stage part of it is, and how it's each contest varies so drastically, and over the years it's changed a lot like a lot.
I mean, you've been doing it since 2009, so I imagine you've definitely seen the wide change of cosplay contests. I remember being told that they used to be called masquerades.
Yeah, I think there's only a couple of conventions left that still call it a masquerade. Like Anime Expo still calls it a masquerade. But it's changed so much over the years. And so my first cosplay contest, it was at KomoriCon, and the prejudging happened the morning of, I believe. It's literally been so long. But it happened, was it KomoriCon? No, I think it was a different convention, but I honestly don't remember what it was because it wasn't. I don't know. It's been way too long. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
But it was actually kind of a disaster because I went in and he's got King Armakin has like 4 wings, like 2 sets of wings.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's it was fun. But I chose that one specifically because it had some sewing on it, it had armor, it had feathers, it had wings, it had a little bit of wig styling, it had a little bit of everything, which I thought was kind of a good like mixture for judging and prejudging. But I went in, I got fully judged, and then right after judging, one of my wings broke. So I spent the entire con from morning prejudging to the contest trying to fix my wings. I got it done though, but it was not a good time. But yeah, I actually used to host a panel all about cosplay contest portfolios and how to make them, and people used to commission me for just their contest portfolios.
We may
It
go.
was
We may go. We may go a little. We may delve into a little bit of that.
it was a different time back then when you could have 2-hour panels just on portfolio.
Nice. Before I go to Titus and Kyra, want to introduce Minty Poison.
Yay.
Real quick, Minty. I'll be asking you 2 questions, and then the third one after I ask the other 2. What was your very first cosplay contest like, and who was your very first cosplay as for that contest?
Oh my goodness. I mean, technically my very, very first contest was something that happened at, I'm gonna age myself. It was a one-day event at Suncoast. Technically that was my very first contest. It was super informal, so it wasn't really anything super fancy, so I don't even know if we really want to count that. I think my first true contest was actually Everfree Northwest in 2013. And it was like their second or third year running the event, so it was a little bit of a mess. It was we didn't really get any time in front of the judges. They didn't really give us any real stage direction, so we weren't really sure what to do when we got up there. But overall it was a fun time. My first kind of true actual big kid competition though was KomoriCon 2017. And that's kind of where I got, oh, this is what a cosplay contest is supposed to be like. With prejudging, we had the tech rehearsal, which was very nice to have just to make sure everything was going smoothly. I was able to use it as am I going to slip on the carpet here when I do a spin? And I thought that was much more organized than my first real kind of contest.
And what was the cosplay for that contest for KomoriCon 2017?
For Komori?
Yeah.
That was Lisbeth from Sword Art Online.
Nice. And another question I asked, what advice would you want to give for first time cosplay contestants, whether they're just either starting out cosplay or they've been cosplaying for so long that they want to experience what a cosplay contest is from a different perspective?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard because I literally was the last week or 2 I've literally been putting together a panel for intro to competitive to kind of like give people a little bit of a introduction as to what they're kind of going to experience. So that's like, there's so much. I can talk for a literal hour about it. I think the biggest bit of advice would be to this is going to sound really weird, but read the rules. Every contest has totally different rules. You never know, the rules from, I was actually reading it up because I'm looking at entering in the next few years. The rules between like ALA and AX are totally different. The rules between ALA and SoccerCon, totally different. So making sure that you familiarize yourself with the rule set so you can kind of know what you're getting into as you do go into it is really important.
No, that makes. I mean, I've never personally entered, but I've seen. I mean, the first I've ever heard of cosplay contest, and I'm sure anyone who has ever watched sci-fi remembers Heroes of Cosplay. Seeing those cosplay contests was crazy nuts. Kyra, what made you want to cosplay Aylaway for your first cosplay contest?
So around the time I cosplayed Aloy was actually the time I stepped away from anime for a couple years. I was cosplaying a lot of men. Couldn't figure out why. Turns out I didn't like how women were depicted in anime. So I was like, all right, let's stick my feet into some video games. And that was one of the first big video games I played for myself on my brand new PlayStation. And I was like, oh my God, she's so amazing. She's so cool. She has similar personality traits to me. I'm going to be her. And I don't care how I do it. I do not have the skills to make this, but I'm going to get it done. And so, yeah, it was kind of just like a really strong female character that I hadn't seen in a lot of media I'd consumed before that. And that was super exciting.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot. Titus, oh, what made you want to cosplay the character that you did for your very first cosplay contest?
I think at the time I was super obsessed with the game. I have like a thing about being obsessed over one thing for a long period of time. So I really enjoyed the art that they used in the game, and I would play it over and over and over again. And one day looking on DeviantArt, I found an artist who did a really nice design of a human version, and I asked him if I could create their artwork and put it into a costume. So that's what I did after I got permission.
Nice.
And it was just a big obsession.
No, that's pretty cool that they gave you permission.
Yeah, I always ask if I can find the artist, I will ask.
Nice. Same question for you, Minty. What made you want to cosplay? Was it Elizabeth from Sword Art Online?
Yes.
What made you want to cosplay her for your very first convention? I mean, cosplay contest.
So overall, it's actually funny. I have kind of a weird relationship with that anime. I'm not a super huge fan of it. But Lisbeth was pretty much the only character that I kind of related to, even just a little bit. And I was like, you know what? It's a cute girl doing cute things with a really cute fluffy skirt. I'm really good at making fluffy skirts. Maybe I can try to make a fluffy skirt and make it competition worthy. I had joined a panel, or I had attended a panel with some people who are friends of mine now, who were doing the intro to competitive cosplay panel. And I was like, you know, I bet I can make this Lisbeth competition worthy. So it was half a challenge to myself, and half I have a weakness for fluffy skirts.
I mean, a good chunk of your cosplays I've seen, especially your Evolution one, had a big fluffy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it had a massive petticoat under it. I kind of totally don't have a type at all or anything.
Now back to Consul. What made you want to try out cosplay contests?
Oh, I don't know. It was just kind of like I wanted to put my grubby little hands on every piece of pie at Thanksgiving dinner. That's just kind of what it was. I wanted to do a little bit of everything, try a little bit of everything. Once you catch the con bug, you can't really stop. You kind of have to try a little bit of everything, and what you like is what you like, what you don't like is what you don't like. So that's kind of what it was. I was just like, I want to try this and see if I like it. So that's really all it was.
I mean, it sounded like you had a good time too.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun.
Same question for you, Colleen. What made you want to start entering cosplay contests?
I mean, well, there's a few reasons. First of all, YouTube content. Gotta get that content. But also, as I started figuring out how to sew, I was just really proud of my work. And it takes a lot of work to make a costume. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort. And I just found that I really wanted to share the work I was doing. I love the cosplay contest community. Like, literally, you go backstage with these people and they are just looking at all the details on your costume. They're like, oh my gosh, how'd you make this? You look stunning. We're exchanging compliments. We're exchanging like ideas on how to make stuff. And it feels so amazing to be backstage with all these supportive people. And I just cannot get enough of that. I cannot get enough of getting to talk to other cosplayers, talk about my craftsmanship and things we're proud of, and just kind of swap stories backstage.
Nice. Kyra, same question. What made you want to start entering cosplay contests?
Kind of a two-parter. When I was ready to cosplay Aloy, I'd run into the speed bump a couple times of I'm cosplaying characters who I can't buy costumes for from a factory. anymore. And because mind you, I went into cosplay only knowing how to knit. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make something. And then why don't I go ahead and enter it into the cosplay contest? And not only that, the second part, to honestly be blunt, Current EchoCon was a very tiny convention. And I kind of got bored standing around the hallway and went, you know what? I'm going to eat up some of that con time and I'm going to enter the cosplay contest.
Nice. Same question for you, Minty. What made you want to enter a cosplay contest as your character? Like, what made you want to basically start doing cosplay contests?
The biggest thing was so I had been sewing for about 5 or 6 years before I finally decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to enter something. And I kind of came to that decision when I realized that I kind of wanted to challenge myself. You know, some of the things that I was making, like I knew I could do better. What is going to be something that is going to force me to do better than going in front of people that are going to pick my work apart? But also, you know, as soon as I got back there backstage, it was like Colleen was saying, it was an amazing experience. Everybody wants to talk to you about what you did. You know, there's so much talent backstage. There's a lot of networking that goes on. And I found that as I had stepped into that world, I realized, oh, I'm going to exponentially grow and just keep out proving myself every single time. So the biggest reason I wanted to do it was basically to prove to myself that I could do it, that my stage fright wasn't actually holding me back, and that my sewing was, you know, my craft was up to par.
And last but not least, Titus, what made you want to start entering cosplay contests?
I think mostly it was more of building up my confidence because I'm very socially awkward. And it gave me an opportunity to actually like get up and do something. And I've never made a costume for myself at that time. Like I did small little projects, but this was my biggest like project I ever did. And I kind of just wanted to just throw myself up there and do something out of my comfort zone. And I'm actually doing it again for next year, not this year, but next year. I have a huge project that I'm working on that I'm going to do it again and hopefully don't fail like I did last time.
If you're able to, mind telling us a little bit about this project for this next cosplay contest?
Yeah, so I decided it's hard to explain, but it's from a really old school anime. Like you guys know Vampire Hunter D and all that stuff. So I'm kind of currently working on that. And it's really massive because there's a lot of big props. And I'm also working with my buddy and we're going to be doing a Berserk costume as well.
Ooh,
and I'm building
that's a big, oh, you can build a sword. Oh, wow.
I'm building Guts' sword for him, and then I'm doing all the armor.
Oh God, his
So-
wait, how big, how tall is a sword? Like what, 7 foot? 6 foot?
So I'm making it to scale, and he is 6'3"
Oh God.
versus my 5'9", 5'6", 5'7". I don't know how tall I am anymore. So the sword, instead of it being 7 feet, it's going to be about 9 to 10 feet. So
Oh,
it's going to
good
be.
God, this is big as Sephiroth Sword from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, we're hoping that things go well and I can get it all done. And we're working with several different materials. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun project, and I'm making everything.
Jeez.
So
I guess that kind of brings me to my next question. Starting with Consul, what was the process in going to making King Armakin for your for the cosplay contest?
Well, King Armakin specifically, he had a lot of new materials and new things that I had never worked with. And like it was probably only my second time working with Warbla. It was only like my third or fourth time making just armor in general. I had a mixture of a bunch of different mediums. Yeah, it was, I mean, it was just Yeah.
it,
I know
it,
it's
it was basically like a whole new world for you from what it sounds
it,
like.
it really was like it was my first time making like articulated wings or just wings in general. It was my first time making or my second time making armor or working with Warbler, like my third or fourth time making armor in general. I had to do a lot of like fabric draping, like very specific draping to get the look that I wanted to, and I'm not good at draping fabric. If it's not skin tight, I don't know how to make it. No, I'm kidding. But so yeah, it was
What is draping? I don't mean to interrupt you.
no, it's so like the way that the fabric lays, like looser fabrics and like how it lays and how it like falls on the body. So he had like this like skirt piece that had a very specific draped pattern in how it laid. And so I that was all new to me, trying to get the exact like way that I wanted the fabric to be. There's a little bit of body paint involved. I at the time I wasn't super confident in my wig styling either, so it was just a lot of a lot of unknowns, and so I was just like, this is the one I want to try and improve my skills and bump those up to the next level, because if I try all of these new things all at the same time, I can get critique on all of it all at once.
For anyone who's watching and doesn't know who King Armakin looks like, this is that the version you did?
Yeah. So that the breastplate was all Warbler. I had no idea what I was doing. So I like hand sculpted with clay like all of the like what I wanted the chest plate to look like, and then I heat formed Warbler over this gigantic clay chunk. It was not the smartest move, but it worked. It was bad.
I mean, it sounds like you've learned though from your first cosplay contest build.
Definitely. Like yeah. YouTube tutorials were very non-existent.
No,
Non-existent. So it was all experimental, entirely experimental. I have so many horror stories and I have done everything wrong.
I mean, thanks to people like Kamoya Cosplay, she has her own cosplay book now to help with stuff like that. Same question for you, Kyra. What was the process into making Aylaway as your first contest piece? I know I've asked this before, but for those who are new to listening to this,
a total disaster, like, to put it lightly. The costume took me 9 months to make because I hadn't sewn anything before. I patterned her top. I patterned the skirt. I had made shoe covers. I couldn't afford buckskin, so I went and got some furniture velvet and made it out of that. It had this horrible backing, so I had to take a knife and scrape the backing off, and I didn't have a leather hole punch. And if you've seen Aloy's Nora Brave outfit, there's just leather stitching everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and I didn't have a leather hole punch, so the entire process was me taking a hammer and a nail and making holes with a nail. Yeah, so my favorite phrase about making cosplays is I'm 90% done with 90% left to go. So I spent like 9 months working on this cosplay. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm almost done. And then like 3 days before the convention, I'm like, wait, but I still have the armor and I still have the shoes and I still have the wig to do. And I haven't done the spear yet. And I was like, wait, but there's only a few pieces. I'm like, sure, but now I get to pull 3 all-nighters to get it done.
So you basically work like con crunching too.
Yeah, it was awesome. I have a bad habit of doing that.
I remember you telling me in some of the previous ones, and for anyone who's not familiar with Aloy's outfit, Nora Brave outfit, a lot of detail. I remember you telling me like you were saying even like thank God for photo mode in the game.
Oh, absolutely. You can get a 360 view of Aloy. So I was like, I'm going to look at the skirt lining. I'm going to look at the bottom of her shoes. I'm going to look at her hair. Oh man, I'm not joking. I fried 2 wigs trying to get hers the way I wanted it to look. Because I'd Sharpie dyed wigs before. The days of Sharpie dyeing wigs. I'd Sharpie dyed wigs before. I was like, okay, no problem. She has like this red to blonde ombre effect in her hair. I can totally do that. This was my first time using artist ink for whatever reason that didn't take, and I actually tried to re-dye the same wig like 2 or 3 times. It genuinely ended up like a salmon pink, and it was dreaded, and it was so dry that I couldn't use it. So that was a rough process.
I just every time I like have you on, it's like it's just interesting to know that like the hell you went through to make a. I'm not trying to laugh. It's just I can't imagine anyone who's on here that it was a cakewalk making your first cosplay contest piece. Colleen, what was the process into making Riku for the cosplay contest?
So I like, there weren't a lot of tutorials online at the time, but there were a lot of videos saying that you should thrift your first costume. So I tried to thrift a Final Fantasy X costume, and it was so bad. I basically just bought like the orange shirt and like green shorts, and I just tried to attach stuff on it. But the thing about Riku is her outfit is like a suede pleather sort of fabric, and it was so bad. Furthermore, I had never owned a wig at this point. I was that person. Yeah, there you go. I did that outfit. And I didn't use any like actual pleather or belting materials. I just used this really flimsy knit fabric, but I still put in the metal rivets and the metal buckles and stuff. So everything just was like hanging, like these metal things were just like pulling the whole shirt down. It looked horrendous. Didn't own any wigs, so I at that point was like, I'm just going to only cosplay naturally blonde characters, and I just put my own hair up into it. I actually ended up scrapping all of that Riku costume and remaking it for Lilac City Comic Con later, and I did win novice that time, but the first go around was rough. I have a hard time looking at those pictures now.
I mean, Riku's outfit in the game compared to her 10-2 version, she's got like a lot of like small details from her. Well, not very much the one glove she wears, but her other armor thing that has a weapon on. I can't remember the name. What was?
I didn't even make that. I just like it, like literally just like
thrift store like
top and shirt,
basically
and
cutscene Riku.
Yeah, and then just a whole bunch of metal that like weighs down the whole outfit. So it just, when I remade the costume, it could not be saved. It had to go in the trash.
It's like just burn it.
Yep, I could not save a single part of that. I ripped off the metal pieces to reuse, but it was done.
It wasn't salvageable after. It
was not salvageable at all. It was very bad.
Wow. Minty, what was the process in going to making Lisbeth for your for the cosplay contest?
So for me, because I'm an over planner, a lot of her, so I just did her base red dress with the apron. I actually was planning on making her hammer, but then I was like, wow, I can't do props right now. So this was like as I was just trying to get my confidence back into sewing. So with her, it was a lot of broken thread from gathering. I think I broke 3 or 4 new. Yep, there she is. There's my girl. I
those
probably
are some tall freaking boots.
Yeah, they are quite tall. I probably broke 3 or 4 needles while doing all the gathering. So I actually hand gathered all of the trim that was on that.
Hand gather, what's that?
I'm sorry?
What's hand gather? I've never heard of that before.
So it's just making the ruffles.
Okay.
So yeah, I had to like put a long string through a bunch of fabric, and then I scrunched it all up onto one string and then slapped it onto a skirt. And I broke so many threads. I went through at least 3 cones of thread just doing the ruffles themselves, because I didn't think to get like the giant cones. I got like the little tiny ones because I was like, I'm not going to need that much. I have learned.
Like the kind you see in a sewing kit?
I'm sorry?
Like the kind you see in a sewing kit?
Yeah, like the big ones, like the triangle ones. I had like the little tiny like standard ones, and I was like, oh, this will be fine. No. I think the biggest thing for me was so when I first went into contests initially, I was like, okay, I have to get everything exactly like the character. It has to look exactly the same. I have to look like I walked off screen. But as I was building it, I actually started doing all of the yellow line work on her as hand embroidery. And I realized that was taking way too long and it wasn't coming out like I wanted. So that was kind of my first go at doing my own embellishments on things. So the all the gold is actual like gold, not like gold, but like a gold trim. So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of handwork, and a lot of cussing as my bobbins ran out from gathering everything.
My goodness. Again, I feel like that's also another thing a lot of cosplayers who make their own cosplays have to go through. There's like the yelling, the cussing, the crying, the throwing the cosplay in the corner and coming back to it later. Show of hands here who have actually literally thrown their cosplays because they just couldn't handle it.
When I fried my Aloy wig, I had her on like a mannequin head and on a stand, and I put a brown paper bag over the head for a week.
The bag of shame.
Yeah. I was like, I can't look at it.
Everyone has a box of shame. This jacket almost went into the box of shame. So
Titus, same question. What was the process? What was the process in going to making okay, what's the name of the character you cosplayed again?
She has a long name, but it's just Ami is what a lot of us call her. That's fan of the game. That costume was hell.
What was it? And what's the name of the game?
Okami. This is the costume I made. It was hell.
Oh, the main character.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and I made a tiny little costume for my dog too. So that was because I had my service dog, and that was all a chaotic mess as well. Like that whole costume, I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I made it 3 days before the con.
Ooh, serious con crunch.
Yeah,
I see Kyra laughing like she could feel your pain.
I was bored and I got convinced to, it was my first like thing, and I had a whole costume I was going to do, but then I was working on that one that was sitting in the corner of just a stack of fabric, and I was like, I'm gonna work on this and make this for the contest, whatever. Yeah, it was 3 days of no sleep and just throwing it together and trying to figure out. And the shield part that we made, I went to work and I saw a trash can lid, and I'm like, I will use this.
It works.
And they questioned me. I got questioned for a trash can lid because that's all I bought was just the trash can lid. And all my coworkers judged me, but it was, sorry, she just smacked into the glass door. It was just a huge process between trying to make boot covers, which I've never made before. And I chose horrible footwear to make those boot covers on top of, which they fell apart as I was on stage. The overall outfit was like trial and error because I had to redo the pants 15 times and I still can't do pants. I do not make pants. I tell people that when I do commissions that, nope, sorry, you got to find your own pants. I'll do the top, but
or go to someone else.
Yeah, or go to someone else. But it ended up just being kind of like, I literally threw it into a corner for like 3 hours because I was so mad at it. Worked on the dog's costume. Then I turned around and went back towards it and then had the needle. I moved just right and the needle went between my toenail and cuticle on my foot. And it hurt, but it was like, I'm just pulling this out and getting this done. So it was a very evil costume. And to this day, I have no idea what happened to it because it went AWOL. Like it's literally nowhere to be found. We cannot find that costume whatsoever. But it took the whole 3 days and then part of day 0 to get it fully finished. And I did some hand embroidery. So I did that. I just kind of like tried to figure out how I was going to fix the shoes. So I hot glued them and they lasted all the way up till the end of walk off. And that's where I tripped. And there's a video of it and you just kind of see me kind of almost face plant and my dog rushed away from me. So that was the funniest kind of idiotic thing I've ever done.
And this is where you were. This was where you were on the stage.
Where I was on stage, I almost ate the stage. It was horrendous. I hated that costume so much. That's why I'm like, it's AWOL. It's nowhere to be found. I don't know where a huge trash can lid could go, but it's gone.
Oh my.
But it light up. I did LED lights in it, so the whole thing lit up too. So yeah, she's really in my face today. So.
Now before we move on, and I actually do plan on doing a separate podcast panel for it. Again, Consul, thank you for the idea of that. Show of hands here who have been judges for a cosplay contest. Now, started with Minty, and again, I want to dive more deeper into this. Just one little quick question. I will ask in that podcast panel later down the road. What's the different perspective from being a contestant to judging?
Oh man, it was a huge thing for me because I felt like there was a little bit more responsibility on my side. The other thing is where when you're going in as a contestant, you have to remember to talk about certain things. So typically I like going top down and I just talk about everything as I go. And sometimes I found when I was judging, it was hard not to like jump in with questions or interrupt their train of thought, because I know how that feels. And kind of with the stress of, okay, I have like 2 to 5 minutes with these people and they're like destroying my life's work right now in their heads. It was as a contestant, but as a judge, it was kind of like, okay, how am I going to be able to look over everything that this person did while still intaking what they're saying and looking at their build book or their references or anything like that in those 2 to 5 minutes. So it's a lot of it is just kind of an internal thing for me of, being able to switch from I need to talk about everything and ask questions to I probably should let them kind of word vomit as they go.
Same question for you, Consul. I know you've not only been in a lot of contests, but you've also judged quite a few. What's the different perspective, if you don't mind answering?
Yeah, of course. So it's, again, each contest is so drastically different. So the way that the coordinators of the con want you to judge is differently, whether or not you have prejudging or not, whether or not there's just so many factors that change in the way that you can judge as a judge. Sometimes there's no prejudging at all. Sometimes there's no portfolios or build books at all. Sometimes, so you just kind of have to sometimes go strictly off of visual, which is such a difficult thing from a judge's perspective, because you really have to like know your stuff. You have to know how things are made. You have to kind of be a little bit of a jack of all trades. But it's super difficult on those competitions where you don't have any one-on-one time with the contestants. But it also is very rewarding in the sense of you are responsible. This sounds kind of weird, but you're kind of responsible for someone's happiness. Like, obviously, if someone wins, like, oh, they'll be super happy about it. But like, also being able to uplift the competitors who haven't won and being able to be that support and be like, hey, I really liked this, and give that proper constructive criticism that won't bring them down and won't dissuade them from improving. That's one of my favorite things about being a judge, is just helping uplift cosplayers and helping them learn and grow in the short little amount of time that we have. So yeah, that's probably my favorite thing, and one of the biggest differences I think from competing is being able to kind of be that support that calms the nerves that you have from competing.
Nice. So basically, like if a contestant loses, you're basically giving that reassurance, hey, don't give up because you didn't win. This is more of a thing like keep on continuing to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. And last but not least, Kyra, what is it like from the other perspective, aside when you're not competing, what is it like when you're judging? What's been the difference you've noticed?
It's super amazing. I mean, I judge because I love being part of cosplay contests, and it's awesome to still be able to participate even when I'm not competing. But so far, I have only judged contests where there is no prejudging. It happens on stage, and I have anywhere from 20 to 60 seconds. And usually the category, like the ratio of build to bot is very low. It's 50-50. And I've found that like usually I can tell when something is purchased and when something is made, but a lot of the times I have actually found that contestants aren't very good at articulating that for themselves. So really what it brought to my attention was I know that build books are all the rage these days, and I totally get it for bigger contests. Absolutely do it where they ask it of you. But honestly, I'm probably never going to give the judges anything ever again. I'm going to very much focus on my vocal performance because I found when I'm judging, if I'm not needing to look at a build book, if your cosplay is not complex enough to need one, I kind of just want to look at it as it's on you, and I just want you to tell me what you did. I do not want to read a piece of paper. It's totally going to distract from my judging. And honestly, like trying to make sure I award the correct people, for lack of a better term, because honestly I'm proud of everyone who shows up there. Like, good on them for getting out of their comfort zone and showing up. The fact you made something is great, but I am always concerned. It's like, these cosplays can't necessarily be compared directly, like is a transformer the same as like a magical girl? Like, how do I compare those two? How do I decide who won? And just trying to award appropriately is definitely stressful. Super rewarding, but stressful.
Oh, I can't imagine. Next question, since the word's been brought up, who here has had their cosplay prejudged at a cosplay contest? I guess Colleen, what's it been like having your cosplays prejudged in a contest?
I find it's honestly preferable to contests that don't have prejudging, and it's really nice to have that one-on-one time and explain how you made everything, because a lot of times there will be certain pieces you bought or certain things you want to like accentuate, certain things that you want to bring to the judge's attention. Like with a lot of my costumes, they are made and engineered in a certain way that they work with my wheelchair and I can more easily get dressed. And that's something that no one's ever going to see on stage with a walk-on. Like, no judge who only has 60 seconds is going to be like, so how'd you get dressed into that? Like, is it hard for you to use zippers? Like, no one's going to ask that. But being able to do prejudging, I'm able to explain like how there's this huge thought process behind all these different closures, and I get to explain all the little details that they might notice. You can kind of direct their attention to the things you want them to see. And if you had a really ugly seam, then you just don't talk about it. So it's just really nice to get to talk about the best points of the costume and show the process instead of just like, I made these pieces, bye.
Now before we move on, would you recommend prejudging at cons that don't prejudge, or just whatever I guess pending?
Yeah, it depends on the type of con and what you're trying to do. A lot of cons just aren't as cosplay focused. Like, they just don't have as big of a cosplay scene yet. And I think it makes sense for some of those to not have prejudging, just because it takes a lot of time. You got to hire a judge to do the prejudging. You have to have a room for it. So for cons that don't have a big cosplay scene, or maybe don't have much of a budget, I can see why they don't do prejudging. You have to basically rent out a whole extra venue space room for like a whole like set of hours, sometimes a whole day.
Oh, wow.
And
That
hopefully
long, huh?
pay judges. Yeah, yeah. It can be that long, depending on how many contestants you have. Obviously, you want to give the judges proper breaks in between. You want to make sure they eat. So I can definitely see why a lot of smaller cons wouldn't want to put that into the budget, especially if it's a con where they just don't have as many cosplay focused attendees. Like the con just isn't really focused on cosplay.
It's kind of more common for like the more bigger, well-known cons, I imagine.
Yeah, if it's a bigger con and you have cosplay programming like panels and guests, and you are actually trying to sell tickets to cosplayers and cater towards them, I'd say you need to have prejudging. That's what the cosplayers want to see, okay? But if you're like a Comic Con and your big draw is that you have comic artists and you have no programming for cosplay, like, you know, you don't necessarily like. I can understand it. I can understand why you would not have prejudging there.
Same question for you, Consul. What has been like having your cosplays prejudged when they do prejudging?
I also prefer prejudging over not prejudging, only because I am a little bit full of myself. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, I do like to show off. I am a bit of a show off. I like to show off my work. I'm proud of my work.
Your work is really well done from what I've seen on Instagram and in person.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to show off my work, especially if I'm proud of something. And there is a lot to certain costumes, kind of like what Colleen was saying. There's a lot to certain costumes that you just cannot see with the naked eye. A lot of costumes, like those big ball gowns, like there's hoop skirts, there's petticoats, there's lots of things under so many layers that you just do not see with the naked eye often. So it's really nice to be able to fully show that off to the judges. Also things like props, light up things, like there's so many things. There's so many things, and you just can't all absorb it in the short amount of time that you get on stage.
What would you say one of your cosplays that what was the brain work? Which one of your cosplays got prejudged the most for?
Like the high in the sense of like what costume
had like the most detail, I guess.
Oh, okay. Probably there's this series called Hakyoki. It's an otome game, and there's a character called Toto, and there's a couple different outfits in this series, but the specific outfit that I did, I like hand wove sandals, and it was like 12 hours per sandal. They were like completely hand woven. Yes, not that outfit, but yes, that character. And there was just a lot of intricate detailing on like the pants that I had were like a gradient, so it was all hand dyed. The shirt had a lot of like rope detailing and vinyl detailing, and it was actually an entirely, like, all of the materials that I had for that costume were entirely thrifted, which I thought was really fun. It didn't like add to the costume or anything, but I was just like, by the way. But yeah, that one I say was probably one of my more detail oriented costumes that I was super proud of, mostly for the shoes. But yeah, those costumes just in general are super detail oriented.
And I've noticed some judges really want you to be honest on how your cosplay was made.
Yeah, that's where the build books become helpful, just having proof that you did it. So, but yeah, I totally understand Kyra's point too, of like just wanting to take it all in. I have seen, I haven't entered one yet, but I have seen competitions. I believe ALA does this. I'm not 100% sure, but the judges get all of the build books the day before prejudging. Yeah. So they have a chance to go through their build books, and then they go through prejudging, and then they go through the competition. I'm pretty sure ALA does that, but which is really nice. I think that's a really cool aspect as well.
That sounds like a dream. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
literally, yeah.
I'll go. I want to go more into that as well. But, I want to finish with Titus, Minty, and Kyra. Oh yeah, right. So Titus, what's it been like having your cosplays prejudged when they do prejudging for a con?
It's actually really helpful, in my opinion. Like every prejudge that I've been to, they would always like sit there and kind of give me tips down the road if they noticed something that I did. Like if it was like a hand stitch that looked kind of like weird, they'd give me tips on how to do it a little differently. So they were always like completely helpful to me, in my opinion. But I like prejudging just because like it's the same thing as you guys said. It's it gives more, it shows more of your work off and kind of shows them how things are done. And you can also like when I did Okami, I had to explain to them how I did the shield because they were very confused by the trash can lid. So, but they've always given me feedback. I don't know about you guys if they've ever given feedback to you, but I like the feedback process because it makes me feel like I can do better and I have like more, how do you want to put it? Sorry. It gives me more of an idea of how I can do things next time when I make my next costume. Instead of like, I'll just do the same thing I did last time. It gives me a reminder, like the way the girl explained how to do a certain hand stitch, that is now imprinted in my brain. So when I do hand stitching, I always go back to what she had told me. And now it's like a permanent thing in my head to do. So that's why I like prejudging, I guess.
Nice. See, I think it's nice when judges do prejudge because they themselves have been in your shoes before. They've been prejudged, and I feel like not only are they learning, and I imagine there's also times where the judges have learned something new about your cosplay that they didn't even know about, like a certain like way you stitch this or put that on there without it falling. Minty, same question. What has it been like having your cosplays prejudged when they do prejudging for cons?
It can be a little scary. It can be a little nerve-wracking. But like you said, the judges have been in that exact same spot before. They started at novice and worked their way up. So they're not there to it might feel like it, especially if you do get notes provided back. Some contests do provide notes back, that they're trying to rip you apart, but they're just trying to make sure that you are making something to your full potential. I'm actually kind of in the same boat as Consul. Actually, I love getting prejudged now because I love showing off all of the detail. I do a lot of little tiny hidden details in things. Like with my Matokami, I not only did my inner skirt light up, but it was galaxy print fabric, and I rhinestoned I rhinestoned a bunch of galaxies. I did like a rhinestone gradient on the heel of the shoe. I added lace in a bunch of places. I had a lot of hand beading, and you're not going to be able to see that from 6, 10, 20 feet back from wherever the judges might be sitting. So I actually do like being able to go in and point out like, oh yeah, I did this, and look at this, and oh, I hand blinged my own plaid on here because I couldn't find anything that I liked.
You hand did that yourself?
Yes. So this was actually, excuse me as I go through judging again. So yeah, this was it's all hand beaded and rhinestoned. I couldn't find a plaid that I really liked, so I was like, screw it, I'll just make it shiny. So being able to show the judges that kind of thing, or like hey, I have when I'm in full Sora, I actually have hidden Mickeys all over the place in rhinestones.
I think you were telling me that in your interview. I think.
Yeah.
It was one of your interviews.
Just putting little things like that, like oh, I put like I put Monokami's soul gem rhinestone somewhere on her skirt, and like you're not gonna see it unless you go in, and then I hide it in a specific place so I can be like, oh yeah, and then there's this, and then the judges are then their eyes are drawn to that, and they're like, oh, look at the way that you also did all of this. So it's kind of a good like point them in the right direction, but also give them something to look out for.
Nice. And last but not least, Kyra, what's it been like having your cosplays prejudged when they do prejudging for cons?
I like prejudging basically for the same reasons everyone else does. They're just things on my cosplays that you're not going to see otherwise. So, for example, Aloy's undershirt, there is hidden Velcro on there that you're just not going to know is there unless I tell you.
Oh, I remember you were telling me that in the cosplay safety new. Wait, no, was it that? Actually, I don't think you actually said that before.
So I have this Velcro strip there because the shirt's made out of a non-stretch material, but it's form fit. And I'm like, well, I'm never going to get that on. And then like the skirt panels have a whole bunch of embroidery on them. So they're 3 layers per skirt panel. And I did the first 2, embroidered them. And then I added the 3rd back piece later so that the embroidery wouldn't show up on the back side and it would look really clean. And that's just something most people aren't going to know. They aren't going to know how many layers are there to a skirt. Historically, I get very scared during prejudging. They're all looking at me. I know they're nice people, but they're all looking at me and I'm shaking and getting nervous and whatever. But the judges don't care about that stuff, so it's okay. And I just, especially after being on the judging end, I have judged recently at a convention where I was not able to get up close to the contestants. I had to judge from 10, 15 feet away. And it's so valuable to have the judges come over, look at your wig, flip your seams, touch your props. It's awesome because like Aloy, compared to some of the other cosplays she's competed against, she's not obviously amazing. There's no big wow factor there. I'm not dressed in a mech costume or a full suit of armor. But once I get one-on-one with a judge, I get to explain about all the different like hand embroidered details. And that's where I then get to sell my cosplay.
Nice. Now, Consul, you're talking about a thing about a build book. What is first off, who has anyone ever here ever used a build book to show the judges? Okay. Starting with Consul because you brought it up. What is a build book and what are the uses for a build book when it comes to a contest?
So a build book basically, or a portfolio, I've heard it both ways. I've said it both ways. But a build book is basically just how you made your costume. It's a complete rundown of how you made your costume. I mentioned briefly earlier that I actually taught a panel on how to do portfolios and build books. But they would never allow that anymore at a con. But yeah, it goes through like types of materials, hours, photos, reference photos of you making it, final pictures, just the entire process and explanation of the entire process of how you did it.
Nice.
So that's all it is.
And you said you've made build books for other cosplayers too, I think.
Yes, I have made build books for other cosplayers. I have a very like specific way that I do build books, and a lot of people apparently really liked how I do build books. So a lot of people would send me all of their process photos, swatches of their fabric, things like that, and all the information, and I would just type it up. I would print it out, like organize it exactly how I organize my build books, and I'm like, there you go.
Get your very own build book today.
Pretty much I've done a bunch of them for people, so they're fun. I find them fun. I know it's weird, like I prefer making build books than actually like doing the competitions anymore. Like I don't know, I just really like doing build books.
Maybe you open up your own bookstore one day with build books.
Yeah, just build books.
Titus, you said you used build books too before for your cosplays?
Yeah, I still do build books when I do commissions too.
Nice.
It helps me know exactly what I've used. When I do my build books, I actually write down the actual name of the material and where I got it and what location I got it. So if I run out, I can always go back and get more. It also helps like my clients personally when I do commissions. It helps them find the same exact fabric so they can order it if something rips or tears. But it also, I can go into my own detail of organized chaos of everything I've done and I normally put photos in there, hours, details, fabric, or where I got the material. So that way everything stays the same. But it also when I did Okami, it gave the judges a good look at everything I did, and that's where I got a lot of my feedback from.
Nice. I mean, the fact that you used a trash can for the shield, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's why I called it my trash costume. Get it?
Minty, what has been like using build books for your cosplays when you enter a cosplay contest?
Mine's been a little mixed. Only because there was one contest, where I had a minute and a half to 2 minutes with the judges, and they didn't even look at my build book. They literally did not have time. But a majority of the time I actually prefer having that, because it's a record to myself of what I did and how I did it. You know, I'm able to do a full write-up page. So I write each piece, how long it took. I have a sample page, fabric sample, rhinestone sample, if I have anything like that, trim sample. And then I just have like 6 pages of nothing but photos and like little tiny blurbs. But as they're flipping through, you know, if I get stuck somewhere, I can see like, okay, what is this judge in particular looking at on this page right now? Why did they stop? And then maybe I can go into a little bit more detail with that. But I personally like having it, just because, like I said, I have that record, and I have a physical record of what I did. I've had so many times, I actually lost probably about 200 pictures worth of progress for something. So being able to have that, I know, and I have a build book for it now. So being able to have that build book to go back to and say, yes, I did this. Here are not great, but printed photos of what I did. And, you know, being able to kind of, it's better to show instead of tell sometimes. Because, you know, you get tongue-tied, you forget something while you're in judging. You know, there can be a lot of pressure on you, even if you're just like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. There's still a lot of pressure. So being able to have that book to kind of show them your process is how you went through things, so that maybe they can, you know, the judges can get a different set of questions for you if you forgot something. But like I said, it works as a reminder for me as well, because I'm like, do you like my design? I made that too.
Like, look at it. Look at it.
Look in the
Look at
cosplay.
it.
Do you
Look
like
at
it?
it. Now three of my favorite questions before we end this. I will start with Colleen. What has been your favorite cosplay to enter into a contest?
If the outfit I'm wearing now counts.
It does.
Probably. Okay, yeah. So this wasn't for a cosplay contest, it was for a fashion runway, but it was for geek inspired fashion, and they were all like, it's not a costume, it's fashion. And I'm like, look, I mean, I look like Carmen Sandiego, good enough for me. So this was for the Her Universe Fashion Show 2021. And that's a fashion show that takes place at San Diego Comic-Con. I was taking place the year that it was virtual. I'm just proud I was able to make this. This is literally EVA foam in my shoulder.
That's EVA foam? I thought that was just like leather.
I mean, it is, but it has EVA foam inside it, and that's how I get the shoulder.
That's impressive, though.
Yeah, I cried over this costume. Yeah, we only had 6 weeks to bring our designs to life. This was during the pandemic, so it was really hard to get supplies. I was very upset. I'm just proud I made it happen and that I got into the Her Universe Fashion Show, since it is a very difficult contest to even get accepted into. You can't just go and participate into it. You have to be selected in order to participate.
So it's kind of like a lottery system.
No, so you submit your designs, and the year I entered, there were over 200 designs submitted.
Oh, wow.
So over 200 people drew out designs and sent them in, and they only picked 25 finalists. So I drew this out like on just a digital artwork and sent it in, and they liked it well enough that they said, hey, you're in, you're one of the 25 people who gets to make the design and show it on the virtual runway for San Diego Comic-Con. So it was really stressful. I'm not sure I would want to do that again, but I'm just like really proud that it actually worked, because there was definitely a hot minute where I was like, man, I finally got into the show and I'm just gonna have to drop, because this isn't working, but it worked out eventually.
Nice. Same question for you, Consul. What's been your favorite cosplay to enter into a contest?
My favorite cosplay to enter into a contest. Probably Toto, the one that I mentioned earlier with the sandals, simply because that was the one I was most excited to enter into a contest because I was really, really proud of like what I did on that costume. There have been a couple costumes that I've made that I want to enter into a contest that I've also been really excited about. I have one that's not quite finished yet that I want to finish and enter into a contest. And there was one that I did want to enter into SakuraCon's contest, but that was one year where like a panel that I was doing like overlapped with prejudging or something like that. So I couldn't do it. It was something silly where I couldn't enter the contest, but that one I was going to be super excited for, but I would probably say of the ones that I actually have entered into a contest, probably Toto.
Nice. Same question for you, Kyra. What has been your favorite cosplay to enter into cosplay contests?
So I'm going to not be a broken record this time.
I was about to say, are you going to say Aylaway again?
So because of COVID, I've actually only made 2 costumes that I've competed in. I mean, I've been able to wear them at multiple conventions just because like how the rules worked out and depending on what awards I got. So kind of different answers. Actually, I'm working on something currently that I am super excited to enter in. I feel like just as excited as when I was working on Aylaway the first time, and it's super testing my skills, but this time I have experience to back that up. You know, I can look at the seams and go, that's not quite right. I can be like, hey, why didn't you stitch in the ditch? Hey, let's look at some silks and some boning and some timbre embroidery. And I'm just, over COVID, I really didn't make many costumes at all. I totally lost my drive and I've got it back now. I've done an original design. I'm super excited for it. And honestly, like, I'm hoping to enter it into the crown at Emerald City next spring. So, you know, gonna go big or go home, I guess.
Mind telling us what that cosplay is, if you're able to?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm working on Serpentius from Has Been Hotel.
Yes.
But I am doing.
That's been like your long process one. I've been seeing a lot of progress photos of Serpentius.
Yes. So he is a Naga and I happen to have 2 legs. So that wasn't working out. So instead what I did was I took the time period when he died. He died in 1888. And I said, okay, I'm making a bustle dress. And that is what I've been working on since April. Like I'm leaving for SakuraCon. I'm packing while ordering fabric for this cosplay. I'm like, great, so this will be back. This will be here by the time I get back and I can get started. And honestly, like just since April, I've just been making underwear. And I'm like, I've had it up to here with this cosplay, but I'm so excited to finally be like getting close to working on the outerwear.
Yeah, I remember another progress one was Obro, I think it was, from My Hero Academia.
Yeah, so he's one I'm going to be competing at KomoriCon in November. I've competed him once before. I was at SakuraCon earlier this year, but I'm going back and making a couple changes. I made his jacket like screen accurate. It was a total mistake, okay, because I just do nothing but sweat buckets in that cosplay. So my cosplay of Oboro already has like some traditional Japanese design elements to it. So I'm just going to totally embrace that. I'm going to scrap the jacket I've got, go totally classic Japanese jacket. I'm going to do some cloud embroidery on it, Sushiko embroidery, traditional Japanese stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to be wearing him to KomoriCon just like based on rules. It's probably the last con I can wear him to, but you know, whether I place or not, I'm just excited to like be back on the convention scene and competing again.
I've noticed with a lot of your cosplays, before I move on, you like to go like authentic with the stitching and the embroidering and the making of the outfits.
So it has definitely been interesting to see my progress from Aylaway to Obro to Serpentius, because I used to be a really diehard screen accurate person. And I have slowly started embracing that, hey, if I add my own tweaks to this, this is actually going to be really, really cool. And it's going to be way more fun than stressing about what exact fabric is on this shoe. and like what exactly is this glove made out of? And honestly, like, I mean, present Mike, you can't really see him. I'm wearing him now. He is just absolutely covered in pins and patches and studs that have nothing to do with anything that he like looks like in the show. But honestly, like, it's been very freeing. And so that's just why I'm so excited for Serpentious. This is a very freeing design. It's the first time I've designed it truly myself from scratch, and just, oh, it's going to be awesome. I'm not going to win, but it's going to be great.
Nice. Minty, same question. What has been your favorite piece to compete in?
Oh God. It's actually a toss-up probably between either my Sylveon or Monokami. Both of those were kind of labors of love. You know, they're two of my favorite character, either my favorite Pokemon or my one of my favorite magical girls. And there was just a lot of stuff that I learned while I was building them, from doing self-patterning for the skirt for Sylveon, learning to do scallops and cut a massive like train skirt with scallops in a like less than 20 square foot space, was interesting. But both of them, when I walked into the judging room, even beforehand, I had a lot of people stopping me. They're just like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. And as I went in, seeing the judge's face really light up when I walked in with those, really kind of made my day when I saw that. But definitely not the after effects. The footwear for those were not too great, but but I still had a lot of fun pointing out all those details. I had a lot of fun building them, and just being kind of able to go a little crazy with the detail on them.
Nice. And Titus, what has been your favorite cosplay to compete in for contests?
I'd have to say it would be my Sora.
From Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah.
Nice.
I did Sora, yes, from Kingdom Hearts 3, and I competed at a small convention at the time. And I think it's my favorite one because every time I've seen a Sora costume, either if it's handmade or if it's from a shop or something, it never has pockets, or like the pockets aren't deep enough. So my Sora costume, I can fit about 4 Nintendo Switches, 6 water bottles, and 17 phones in the pockets alone.
Is that, and that's not exaggerating, right?
No, it's all pockets. The jacket has pockets, the pants have pockets, everything has pockets. I carried everything in my pockets. I could put my dog in my pocket. And I literally had him. He was one of the little dog, Heartless. He was in Seattle's Times walking around SoccerCon when I did like 1 year. I actually put him in my pocket during when I walked on, and I kind of pulled him out of my pocket and sat him down as this little Heartless. And it was like the best thing ever. But my favorite part was like the hours it took I had the Keyblade I had, which is Oblivion, and I had that 3D printed by somebody. And I told them don't do anything to it. So I got to do all the sanding, the painting, the priming, everything to it. And I used a glitter paint. So on stage, it had a shine to all the metal and stuff. And I'm redoing it so I can pull him up on stage again.
Nice.
So yeah, he's my all-time favorite one. I even made the shoes, and I made a mistake and bought shoes because I have a lot of issues with mobility, so I have to be very careful about footwear. And the shoes I got was a wedge, and the process of trying to rip out a wedge in a pair of shoes that are supposed to look like nice Converse, it worked out really nice, except for after like 3 hours in it, your feet were dead. So I'm never making shoes again. No.
Or pants.
Or pants. Yeah. Actually, Sora's pants ended up being my best pair of pants, even though they are now too big on me. Like I can walk and they'll just fall to the ground. That actually happened at KomoriCon. Just walking down the road and all of a sudden your pants just drop and you're wearing ice cream boxers. It's totally perfect. But yeah, those were the only pair of pants I've ever made that I actually enjoy and have all pockets.
So,
Nice. All right. So one of my favorite questions, I'm sure you're all familiar with. Any show of hands here who has had any cosplay mishap? Something ripped, torn, fall off, broken apart. Not a hand from Colleen.
Do you mean fall apart on stage or just fall apart?
Fall apart in general.
I mean, I must have. I
Okay.
just have to think about it.
We'll go back to I saw console racing while they're in. Okay, so aside from the King Armakin, what other cosplay mishaps have you had? Whether you were about to get on the stage, or you were on the stage, or you just got off the stage.
Okay. I have had everything go wrong you could possibly think of in a costume, like ever. I've had pants rip. I've had this actually, okay, probably the latest soccer con. This last soccer con, I stepped out of my car to go to the con and my pants ripped right down the front. But I was able to salvage it because I could just flip it right around because like I have a flat booty. So I was able to turn my pants around and it looked identical. So, and I was wearing a big trench coat, so you could not see the rip at all.
It seems to be the common thing on this channel. It seems to be the common thing in this series where someone's had something ripped in the back or in the front.
Yeah, it was like the entire front seam. But yeah, I was able to just like turn it around and it was all good, kind of. But I have since remade the pants and they're much better. That was kind of like a 2-day speed build. I'm notorious for speed building things. I either build something in 5 months or 2 days. There's no in between. But yeah, I've had pants rip. I've had like under armpits rip. I've had armor fall off. I've had like Warbler armor pieces melt in my car on the way to the con, like on the drive to a con.
How hot is the weather over there then? Jeez.
It was this, I don't know, it was a long time ago. It was a summer con and it was like, oh, there's not enough room in the trunk, so we just kind of stuck it in the back window area. Melted my armor. I've had similar thing happen to like my synthetic wigs. Like I'll braid like long wigs so they stay nicer, but like the heat from the sun, like, oh, now I have a wavy wig like that I have to like straighten in the hotel. I have literally had everything go wrong in a costume ever, period.
I mean, I know there are those cosplayers out there who will deny, and you shouldn't be embarrassed if a cosplay rips or tears. That's like, hey, okay, yeah, I was, like you said, in a rush, or I thought it would hold together. But you know, if you like learn from it when you wear it again the next time, there's a chance it won't happen.
Yeah.
Kyra, I know you told me twice now that you've had your Aylaway staff break. Have there been any other cosplay props or cosplays that have like ripped, torn, fall off, broke apart, whole 9 yards?
Yes. So yeah, to bring up Aylaway again, I did the spear. The spear was the first thing that I'd ever 3D printed, and the glue didn't quite hold. I don't know if it was bad glue or what, but the spear, I'd assembled it from 25 separate pieces, and every single time, minutes before I went on stage, a different seam would break, and someone else who's not going on stage yet is running to cosplay repair and bringing someone over with some glue to repair it last minute. The first time I competed Aloy, I've actually made her undershirt 3 different times just because the fabric I used frayed so badly and I just didn't finish it right. So the first time I competed Aloy, it was actually falling apart at the seams. I got off stage afterwards and there's just this hole in my armpit where the fabric has frayed and separated from the stitching. And then most recently has been Obero, where he wears a pair of hakama, and it's got like that little triangle slit on the hips. And I'm like, okay, just for modesty, I'm going to put a pair of shorts under that. So I made this pair of shorts. This is the first costume I've made where I've made pants or shorts. And luckily it wasn't the outer pair, but yeah, I had the shorts split right down the butt in the judging room. And I'm like, no one heard that. No one's gonna see that. This did not happen.
But you knew it happened. Like you
I
like,
knew it happened.
did you feel it or hear? Did you hear it or feel it?
I could feel it, and then I took it off later, and there's just this hole there, and I'm like, that's not good. So I'm really big on reinforcing pants now. That's a thing I'm a fan of.
Pants are your friend.
Oh boy.
Oh man. Well, I see Titus in the background. He's like, no, they're not. Minty, and I know I've asked this before. Recently, have there been any, since your interview, has there been any cosplay mishaps to your cosplays?
Just because it's been, pandemic, I think the only other piece I've really had go on stage or anything like that has been Alice. But I mean, I've had, specifically gloves constantly. I'm just constantly getting holes in them. Modica was actually one heck of a ride, because basically one after another, my socks wouldn't stay up or attached to the tights that I had. The tights kept running with the stitches in them, so my socks kept falling and the tights just looked like a holy mess on my legs. My glove ripped, so I fixed that, and then all of my wings kept falling off, and then I fixed that, and then I finally got to judging and I was like, okay, cool, and the second I walk out, my wings fall off again, and I'm like, okay, I'm done for today. So I did have one of my little foot wings. They were actually only attached with Velcro, so I need to redo those. But as I was spinning, my skirt caught it and flicked it off on stage, so I had to like quickly scamper back and go grab that and run off.
Like, you saw nothing.
Yeah, no, nobody saw anything. I played it off at least, so most people were like, wait, your wing fell? That was so cute. I thought you were like coming back for a little like encore bow. And I'm like, no, I had something fall off my cosplay. I think that was probably the worst though. A majority of mine has been just the little tiny pieces breaking, seams pop, and it's just those little tiny things that, like, if you know, and like as soon as you see it, then everyone starts seeing it. Or my newest one recently has been rhinestones popping off. It's been really frustrating, especially when there's like a design up front and center, and if there's one missing, you can tell. But that hasn't been happening as much frequently, thankfully.
That's good. Titus, same question. I think I've asked this before. I know I asked this before. Any cosplay mishaps or anything like that? Like somebody ripped, torn, fall off, split, whole 9 yards.
My issue is pants. I've had them ripped. I actually, one time, it was the Okami one where I moved just right and I could feel the rip going from crotch to like back. And I had this huge little bushy tail in the back, so it covered it. The shoe coming off in the middle of, like, towards the end where I tripped and almost ate the ground. I think like my favorite incidents when I competed with Sora was the Keyblade. I didn't have the piece glued down well enough, and when I went to move it, it flung in half and almost hit someone. That was, I mean, they were okay, I promise, but I kind of broke the Keyblade. I didn't have it, like, the glue kind of just decided it wasn't going to stay anymore and did that. And then pants falling off, either too big, ripping, anything like that, and shoes. So pants aren't friends and shoes are not friends. And I think like the other worst mishap I've ever had was with the Okami wig. The whole time, because it was really heavy in the back, it kept pulling back while I was on a stage, and I kind of gave up on it towards the end. So there's actually a picture of me at the end. They took a picture of each person. Here I am with like the wig halfway off my head. And I looked really tired and angry and ridiculous. So we're not going to ever look at that picture. It's in a folder far, far away. So yeah.
Colleen, any cosplay mishaps while competing?
I haven't had a whole lot because I'm a YouTuber, and every time I make a costume, I have to film the showcase first, and the stuff I do for YouTube is way, way, way more intense than a walk-on for a contest. So I don't have any crazy stories, but at this last con I went to, WasabiCon, I did have like a wig issue. It was for the lip sync, not the cosplay contest, but I also had a very back heavy wig. It had a big ponytail, and I could feel it slipping back as I went through my dance. And like mid dance, I changed all the choreography to kind of dance with like my head down, or I would like change the choreography. So I'd like do this a lot, or like this, or like, and like try and like hold the wig on. But by the end of the dance, you could very well see like my wig cap and my wig grip, like all the way. So I got some pictures back, and I had to like very meticulously go in and like Photoshop my hairline down to here, because you could like very clearly see in the photos my entire wig cap, and the wig was like back there by the end of it. I'm just glad I like even got through the lip sync, because I could feel my wig slide back in like the first like minute of the song, and I just had to completely re-choreograph to like casually and very natural looking just grab my head every few seconds. Yeah, I don't really want to dance in back heavy wigs again. So that was unfortunate.
It's great. I remember seeing a cosplay contest once. I'm not gonna say any names. It was my first con I went to. I felt bad for the cosplayer. They were cosplaying as Kyra from Kingdom Hearts 2. I can't remember what they did. They did some kind of spin twirl thing, and their wig just flew right off. I felt so bad for them. You just see them do the twirl. Next thing you know, you see the wig like oh, there it goes.
I feel like there's at least one wig that just evacuates during every cosplay.
It's like, no, you're doing
fly.
something you should be doing. I'm just gonna yeet the other way.
Mine's always my Merlin wig. When I do Merlin from Fate, like that wig, no matter what I do, it will fall off or fly. I could just like walk down the street and be already on the ground, just waiting for me, going, "Hi, I'm back here."
Since you guys kind of talked about your a little horror story, because I was part of fun experiences. Starting back with Consul, what's been your favorite experience while it being in cosplay contests?
Favorite cosplay contest experience? Probably like what Colleen was mentioning earlier about just being backstage and talking with everyone. Like honestly, the like green room or whatever back area or whatever that I have for the cosplay contest at whatever competition you're at, that's really kind of the area where you just relax and chill. And again, you talk shop with all of the other cosplayers. You're like, oh, how did you make this? Like everyone is excited to share and everyone is excited to learn. And that's one of the best things about cosplay competitions. Everyone just wants to absorb all of the knowledge from everyone else, and everyone wants to share all of their knowledge as well. And it's such a wholesome environment. And that's where I've met some of my really, really good friends. That's where I've met a lot of people that I'm mutuals with on Instagram. That's probably my favorite part about competing. Yeah. As far as like walk-ons goes, I love skits too, because skits are fun. I just like to perform. It's a lot of fun.
Minty, what's been some of your favorite experiences while competing at conventions?
So some of my favorites was actually this most recent SakuraCon. It was the first time my partner and I got on stage together in a craftsmanship skit. And I'm totally not biased at all. I think we knocked it out of the park. But it was a great experience. It was my first time doing a skit in a contest. I'd only ever done walk-ons up until that point. So it was a really great experience. It was a great bonding experience for both of us as well. We had a lot of hiccups along the way, either pre-con, at con, during the contest. A lot of stuff kind of went sideways, but it is what it is. It's going to happen. But I feel that we came out both stronger as a bond with each other, but also stronger craftspeople. And I think my other favorite, it's always going to be backstage, because it's totally gremlin hours when you're back there. You know, everyone's stressed, and the only way that you can get unstressed is to be as weird as possible. So I have so many pictures of myself from this last KomoriCon where we're just being total derps backstage, like total gremlin hours. But I think 2019 KomoriCon was probably my favorite. I didn't plan out my timing as well as I should have, and was moving while trying to get my first real masters competition piece together in like 3 months, and that did not work out very well. Do not recommend. But that was a ton of fun because I was backstage doing done mom things, so just, you know, talking with everybody, making sure that everybody was okay. You know, have you eaten, have you drank, did you need a hand up on stage? And that was just really great because I kind of got to interact with everyone, and you know, I was kind of the de-stressor backstage.
Nice. Colleen, what's been some of your favorite experiences while attending cosplay contests?
It's definitely meeting people. Everyone I meet backstage, I try and follow on social media later. And it's how I've met like a lot of people I'm close friends with now. Like I actually met Kyra at the CoronacoCon 2018 contest. I listened to her talk about Aylaway to the judges while I just sat there like a potato in my Tamari costume. So, I mean, I feel like you really, especially if you are in multiple contests with the same person, you really start to kind of develop a friendship and a bond. And I definitely, after every con, kind of stalk the hashtags and I follow as many people as I can that were in the contest. So you definitely build a bit of a community. I feel like we have a community of competitive cosplayers in the Pacific Northwest scene, and you just kind of are like, oh, I saw you at SoccerCon, I'll see you at KomoriCon, and we'll do this again. And it's really nice to kind of have that community where you just kind of meet up every con.
Kyra, what has been some of your favorite experiences while competing at conventions?
I know everyone else has already said it, but definitely the backstage and the community experience. I really did not think going into a cosplay contest there would be this much support and people as excited to ask me about my cosplay as I was to tell them about my cosplay. And then in turn, I'm super excited to hear what they did. They're always super positive. If something breaks, everyone's running at you with a glue gun and super glue and just anything they've got. They're like, hold on, let's just all make this big circle and fix it. I was having a bit of a panic attack backstage the most recent SoccerCon, just because I hadn't done this in a while. I'm not a theater kid. I don't do stage, and I'm just like freaking out in my chair. And one of the other attendees comes over and she kneels down on the ground and she takes my hand. She's like, okay, all right, it's gonna be fine. How many contests have you been in? And I'm like, 5. And she's like, 5? What? You're gonna be fine. And just everyone is always there for you. You meet so many people doing it. If something breaks, you have, you know, everyone coming to help you fix it. And honestly, like, I really don't think I would know as many people as I do today if I did not compete.
Well, I could tell, like, all of you, you know, before we go to Titus, you guys have met a lot of amazing people while being backstage at a cosplay contest. Titus, what's been some of your favorite experiences?
I mean, you guys pretty much all cover it. I really love being backstage and seeing everybody's costumes. And the biggest thing is the support that you get from everybody back there. I think that's like the most, like, it's the best part for me, because the first time I ever went on competition, I was so scared. Like I felt like I wanted to throw up and I was so nervous. But the host who was hosting at that time, I missed my call number to go up on stage, and they rushed back to come get me and help me through, you know, everything to get out there. And I was able to go out on that stage, and that just kind of boosted me up. And when I came back around to sit down again in the green room, everyone who was already went through, they were so supportive. And that's like the best moment. And they also, wanted to say hi to the dog and made me feel a lot better. I mean, who doesn't? He's cool. No, but yeah, it's just the whole, like, for me, it's just really fun. I do it for fun. I don't do it for the competition or anything like that. So I just find just being up on stage, meeting new people, seeing everybody's hard work, I learn from it. I get to observe and I get to enjoy being with the people who have the same hobby as I do and put the time into it.
So I'm gonna go. So last minute here. Sorry. Starting with Consul, then Collee, then Kyra, then Minty, then Titus. I gotta guess a order here where you guys talk about it. Again, just go around here counterclockwise. Start with Consul. Any last minute advice you like to give for those who are listening?
Just be supportive of other cosplayers, have fun, and document everything. You're gonna have a good time regardless. So just have fun, don't stress, just talk shop with the other people around you, and you'll have a good time.
Colleen, any last minute advice you want to give to those who are listening?
I feel like you guys pretty much covered it. Just if you want to try a cosplay contest, just go for it, my dude. Just go for it.
And there's a chance you may get to meet some of these talented cosplayers here at a future convention. Kyra, any last minute advice you want to give for those?
Stage fright like me, I absolutely recommend practicing and memorizing a little top to bottom spiel for when you're in the prejudging room, and practice your walk-ons. Okay, I have 2 separate videos of Aylaway at 2 different competitions, and the difference between the practiced and the unpracticed walk-on is night and day. And honestly, I felt so much better being on stage with a practiced little route. So if you get nervous, those are 2 things I do to really help calm the nerves and just find peace the day of the con. Like this, I really do not need to be stressing about what my walk-on is going to look like day of. I should already have that down. I should already know what I'm going to do.
Sound advice. Minty, same question. Any last minute advice you want to give to those who are listening to this?
Just kind of reiterating what I said at the start, read the rules, know kind of what you're getting into, know what's going to be expected of you. But also, just go for it. Win or lose, it's a great time. I've met some of my best friends that I have in the community now through doing multiple competitions. I've met a lot of people. I've learned a lot of things from those people. So, even if you start with something really simple, it doesn't matter. Go in, don't expect to, walk home with anything, but expect to walk home with a lot of really great experiences, a lot of great connections, and maybe a couple extra skills that you can take to your next competition.
And then last but not least, same question for you, Titus. Any last minute advice you want to give to those who are listening?
Yeah, don't worry about your skill level when you're making costumes. Everyone starts somewhere, and always go in for it for the fun. Even though it's a competition and you have, you don't want to build up your high expectations, but just remember, it's all about having fun and learning and having an experience, and just go for it. Like everyone said, just go for it.
That's, again, some pretty sad advice. I think that actually do it again. Everyone, thank you for coming on to this episode for Cosplay Con Talks. My first cosplay contest. Again, everyone who's watching, thank you for listening. As always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Thank you for listening, and until next time, thank you for watching.